trick since he was 2 years old.
Very first magic trick, get this, when he was just 2 years old.
He's an international award-winning magician.
Now he is an award-winning magician who has performed all over the world.
You are the most amazing magician our show has ever seen.
Considered by many to be the new face of magic.
And please welcome Jake Schwartz to theCUBE.
Our guest today, Jake Schwartz.
We are happy to welcome Jake Schwartz to All Indiana.
This is Jake Schwartz. We're back with international award-winning magician Jake Schwartz.
The real magician, Jake.
His name is Jake Schwartz.
Welcome to the show, Jake.
What the heck? You start. Come on.
Oh, stop it. Well, you stop it.
No way.
Hey, Trumpet.
Logan, are you on this? No. This is amazing.
He's a rising star in the world of magic.
One of the fastest rising young stars of magic in the country.
Considered by many, including myself, to be the new face of magic.
Wait, I've seen magic shows before. You wowed me.
We do have a special guest. If you're listening to us for the first time, please share this interview. Please subscribe. We are trying to get these interviews out to many, many, many more people. And we've had this guy on before. If you haven't seen him on here before or heard him, then that's your problem. You got to step your game up and watch more of these interviews. But anyways, we're going to talk about Jake Schwartz. It's jakeofspades.com. He's got a special treat. He is a magician, and he's been on many TV shows. He's done many parties, events. He's even done some baseball work. We'll talk about that as the interview goes on. jakeofspades.com. Definitely check it out. You can book him for your next event. I believe he travels all over the place. I know he's in Pennsylvania, but he travels to, places. Just make sure you contact them. But Jake, thanks so much for coming on again. Appreciate it. It's always fun to have you on.
Rob, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back.
You always bring the energy and the noise, and I'm happy for that. It's nice to have someone that brings some energy to these podcasts. So let's kick this around. We talk about magic, and that's your specialty. Can you talk to the viewers? What is magic to you?
Wow, that's a great question. So I personally define magic as a moment in which nothing else matters. And every magician, I'm sure, will have their own unique definition, and the dictionary has some say in that as well. But for me, I think magic is something that is real and that exists inside of each person. A magic trick is a really good way to bring out that real magic inside of people. But I also think magic is not exclusive to tricks. I think if you watch, the Colorado Avalanche just won the Stanley Cup. You're going to tell me watching those fans in Denver freak out, that's not magic? That's magic. You know what I mean? And so, overtime goals, game-winning drives, a marriage proposal, like all of these things, that's real magic. A trick is a great way to experience that, but it's that same feeling of when everything just stops. And for one moment in a world where there's so many distractions and so many things going on at any given moment, magic is that incredible bubbly feeling inside when all of it melts away and nothing else matters.
As a youngster, going back to those days, how did you get into magic? Was it something that your family was involved in? Was it something that you saw on TV, friends? What was it?
So I started doing magic when I was 2 years old, believe it or not. And I kind of think this is just something and later in life, I realized this is what I was meant to do. This is why I was put on earth. But it really goes back to my entire life. When I was 2 years old, I was a super picky eater as a little kid. And so my parents would always say, Jake, make your food disappear, make your food disappear. And
throw it under the table.
Well, yeah, I mean, it accomplished a couple things. It did get me to eat. At least a little bit better. And it made me fall in love with being able to give that feeling to other people, because when I would eat and I would make the food disappear, they'd go, oh my God. And they'd freak out and they'd say, wow, wow, wow. And I just fell in love with being able to give that feeling to other people and inspire that magic that we talked about in other people. And so from there, just the desire grew and grew, and the passion grew and grew. And it's just as intense now as it ever was.
So, and again, for people that are just tuning in, Jake Schwartz here. It's jakeofspades.com, not Ace of Spades, Jake of Spades.
That's right. I think mine's a little better.
I agree. So, as a magician, how does that come about? Like, because you went to college, you went to Penn State. I know you've done some great things over there. You helped a lot of kids. I know you did, and you can go into this as the interview goes on. You did some, I believe it was staying up all night. You raised a lot of money through that. I know that happens every year at Penn State, if you want to touch on that. But in general, throughout the grammar school, the high school, and the college years, how did magic start as a small little thing as a kid that you were doing and rise into a career decision?
Well, I mean, you got about 21 years of life there to go over, but I'll give you the shortened and the condensed version. I mean, when I was 2 is when I started, and then coming over when family, friends, cousins came over, there was always a show. I'd make up little, tickets with my crayons or whatever it was as a little kid. And then at about 10, I had sort of this epiphany. I remember laying in my bed of, I can't not do this. That was at 10 years old was the time when I realized I love this thing so much that I want to dedicate my life to it. Fast forward to 16 years old. I was just getting my license, so my parents would drive me to my very first shows, but that's when I started doing it professionally. That 16 is the first time, well, I mean, I'd gotten paid in, frozen yogurt gift cards as like an 8-year-old once, but 16 is really when I said, okay, I'm going to start trying to get paid to do shows. And then when I went away to college, I had asked some successful magicians, some mentors of mine, like, how do you feel about it? Because I went into college already being the career that I wanted. And what they said is, when you go to college, do pretty much anything else besides magic. Try new things. So I tried stand-up comedy. I tried different things and had different life experiences that have shaped the person that I am now. And as a result of having grown as a person, my show has grown and my material is better. It's more well-rounded, because I'm not just coming from the place of the kid who only knows magic and knows nothing else about the world. Now I'm, in a fraternity, and I went to Penn State football games, and I went to the bars, and I, learned in class, because there's no magic classes. So I learned about other stuff. And so all of that life experience helped. Now, to talk about what you had alluded to, which is Penn State's Dance Marathon, or Thon for short, it is the largest student-run philanthropy in the world. It's the greatest thing I've ever been a part of. Every year, right around 17,000 Penn State students come together for 46 hours, where they do not sit down and they do not go to sleep in those 2 days. And all of that is to raise money for families going through pediatric cancer, so that those families never see a magic bill. I'm sorry, not a magic bill, a medical bill. But, Thon is another example, like I said, of that real magic, where for those 46 hours, these kids, and we work with them closely. I'm still in touch with the families that my organization was paired up with. They've come to my shows before, and we develop a real relationship. And it's really amazing to watch them grow and to help them through their cancer journey. Fortunately, my 2 families that my org was connected with, both of our Thon kids, who are the kids who had cancer, are cancer-free at this point now, which is amazing. And I've actually written an op-ed about this on my website if you want to check it out. And I talk about how Thon is just one big trick, but magic trick is what I mean by that, because for those 46 hours, nothing else matters. And these kids who never get to see what it's like to be a kid can come into Thon, they can dance with us, they can play games, they can have water gun fights, and they can just be a kid. They don't have to worry about when's my next appointment, what's the medication I need to take, and on and on and on. And that is a truly invaluable gift that I'm so grateful to have been able to give.
First of all, to go back to Thon, you can't sit down, period?
Correct. I mean, you can go to the bathroom, but that's pretty much it. And of course, obviously, if you have some sort of medical emergency, if I roll my ankle, they're not going to be like, you stand up. But, pretty much with the exception of going to the bathroom, and as the 46 hours sort of get into 25 hours, 30 hours, 35 hours, 40 hours, people sort of need to go to the bathroom more and more. The coincidence of, so that is the exception, but correct. Other than going to the bathroom for those 46 hours, you're standing up.
So there's people that sit in the bathroom for about 2 hours. They sit on their phone for 2 hours.
Not that long. They keep it moving, but just to even like toward the end, if you have to pee, whether you're a guy or girl, I don't want to get too graphic, but you sort of can sit down to pee if you need to. That's sort of a little cheat code, but no, for 46 hours you're standing up.
As a person that doesn't know much about magicians, I mean, I see David Blaine, they put the person in the box, they saw them, they're in two, in half, then they bring the box back together, the person's, so some of that stuff boggles my mind. I don't want you to give away any, show business tricks, but regardless of that, what other magicians are out there that should be, that are big names that I should probably know that obviously I don't?
Well, Jake Schwartz is one of them. That would be my first answer.
Branding.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, look, there are so many amazing magicians out there right now. Penn and Teller for me were really my favorite magicians growing up. Michael Carbonaro, who is a phenomenal magician. Actually, I haven't had the chance to jam out with Michael yet, but we have pretty much almost the identical friends. And he just took over for Penn and Teller in their residency while they're doing a little tour. I mean, there's so many phenomenal magicians, and I have sort of made the argument in the past that the question that this is usually the answer to is there a greatest of all time? Is there a Tom Brady of magic? And I think no. I think there will never be, because every great magician that has come along has added something new to the art form. That just it's so hard to compare. You look at amazing guys like Shin Lim, who won America's Got Talent twice, and he does a lot of routines where he doesn't talk, and it's very beautiful. And I think he's the best pure sleight of hand magician in the world right now. But you compare his act to my act, which is very talkative. It's very personable. It's just different. And it's not that one is better than the other. He's great. I like to think my show is great as well, but they're very different. And you look at those two things and they seem so opposite, but we're doing the same art. And that's what's so beautiful about magic.
When you watch other magicians, do you kind of look at their tricks to also kind of base your tricks on maybe something that they do?
Well, I'm very fortunate that magic is a community where we all like to help each other. So if I'm working on something, I can reach out to just about any magician and say, hey, could you take a look at this and give me some feedback? In terms of watching other magicians, I do, but it's more so for the inspiration of how they can command a room. Not so much to see, oh, he did that trick like that, I'm going to do that trick like that, right? It's sort of like stealing a joke from another comic. I wouldn't do that. However, just watching good magic is really inspiring, and it inspires me to go out and create something unique of my own.
You talk about how you deal with this political correct society that, you have to really be on your tippy toes to watch out. You don't say anything rather that offends this community, that community, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go out and perform from a place of fear. You just can't. Right. You can't do what I do and go to all these different places and put on a show and always sort of have that in the back of your mind. It just can't be your mindset because you're just not going to do a good job. You're going to go out there and the audience is going to know that you're trying too hard to please everybody. I have to just go out there and be myself and perform to the best of my ability. And look, there's going to be people who heckle. There's going to be people who don't like it. But, you know, a lot of times I find, and I don't really get political at all in my show. I don't really think I'm in any position to talk to anybody about politics. So I don't even touch that base. But one time I was doing a corporate event in Philadelphia, and I had this guy who was heckling me pretty much throughout the entire show. And I told this story. Actually, you mentioned Will Smith, where I got smacked in the face by a 5-year-old. And it's a true story. And it is something that I talk about in my show now. So I'm talking about that. And at the end of the show, this guy hurls a spitball at my face and it hits me in the face. And he's maybe an average looking guy. Maybe he's 50, 55, if that. And so he hurls the spitball at my face and I go, you know, I've been smacked in the face by a 5-year-old, and now I just got hit by a spitball thrown by an 85. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how old you were. And the whole place went nuts. It was a company party. I learned afterwards that guy, and I ended the show right after that. I mic dropped and I left. And I said, I'm out. Enjoy the rest of your night on that sort of roast of this guy. So some of it, you got to be ready. You got to learn how to interact with the audience, and you've got to be ready for that kind of thing and think on your feet. But I found out afterwards, he's the owner of the company that I was performing for. So the interesting twist, though, is he comes up to me after the show, and he's one of the first people. He runs right up to me and he goes, oh, you were so great. And he's telling me how much he loved the show. And what I realized in that moment is that a lot of people who heckle do so from a place of either A, they're loving the show so much, they want to be a part of it. And my show, like I said, it's very personable. It's very much sarcastic, and it's very much me as a person. And so people want to be part of that sometimes. Not saying heckling is right, but people do. Or people feel like they're adding extra entertainment. So they will try to guess the punchline of a joke or add in a line because they think it's for the benefit of everybody else. Of course it's not. And don't heckle people. But it's coming from a good place, which is something that I sort of didn't really realize until that moment.
So you were just involved with the Savannah Bananas. I wanted you to talk about that. How did that come about, that opportunity?
So they reached out to me, and the owner, Jesse, who is phenomenal. And I see we're very similar in that we're both always trying to learn and always trying to get better. And we really were able to bond and connect over that from our first phone call. I thought he was calling me to say that he had a corporate event, that he was saying, hey, I'm having my team meeting. Come do an hour of walk around magic. That's what I thought it was going to be. Instead, when I picked up the phone and started talking to him, he said, yeah, we're going to do a tour and we want to put magic inside of a baseball game. And I was immediately excited and interested because that's something that no one has ever done before. A baseball game is the last place you'd ever expect to see a magician, and that's exactly why I wanted to do this. And so really for the first time ever, we did it on HBO Sports on ESPN Plus. There's a docu-series coming out about our tour on ESPN Plus called Banana Land. It's going to air in about a month, I believe in July or August, that's going to air. So definitely look out for that. But for the first time, we did a full magic show and a full baseball game at the same time. And so people who came to these Bananas games got to see a baseball game and also a magic show going on inside of the baseball game. And so that was a really cool creative challenge and a lot of fun for me because no one's ever done anything like that before.
So the teams that, first of all, hold on, let's backtrack. So you were playing on the field then?
So I was really all over the stadium. They were very great in that I would just throw a million ideas out at them and they would say they would be very open to pretty much trying anything. And so for me, most of what I did was in the stands. I would go on top of this dugout, on top of that dugout, or I would host a trick on the field, like sort of in between innings or before the games. I would have a mic at home plate. But also, and this is what we did on ESPN Plus. So if you watch, we did 2 games on ESPN Plus. And in the second game, I put on a baseball uniform and ran out and we checked the pitcher for sticky stuff. But instead of sticky stuff, we checked his hat and I pulled out a giant cane from inside of his hat. And then he had this little paper bag in his pocket. So we pulled that out and I pulled an 8-foot straw out of this little paper bag. And so what looked like it was us checking the pitcher for cheating turned out to be a magic trick. And so that was a lot of fun because I got to put on a uniform, sort of pretend to be part of the team, but also get to have that interaction directly with the fans.
So how did the team treat you? Because I'm sure this was probably new to them. They are amateur baseball players. They're not magicians.
Correct. Yeah, they were really excited about it. You know, they know when you join the Bananas, you got to expect the unexpected, and they're all there to not only play great baseball, but also to put on a great show. And so they were super open to it. They loved watching my tricks, both on and off the field, and everybody was just so welcoming and just treated me really, really well. And it just felt like being a part of this big family, and it was just such a natural fit. For me, at least, and it was a lot of fun.
So you were there for what, for about a couple of months, or?
Yeah, about 2.5 months. By the time we did our first meeting in Savannah, to by the time the tour ended.
But what was that? So you were doing every game.
It was so I first met them in person in Savannah. Late February. The tour ended the first weekend in May. So it was sort of mostly, March and April and those 2 extra weeks.
Okay. Because I think the season ends, in July?
Well, so this was different than a season, because this wasn't a part of like a league or anything. This was us playing a special type of baseball with modified rules, and it's called banana ball. And they added in these extra rules to make the game more exciting. Things like you're not allowed to bunt. Things like, you're not allowed to step out of the batter's box. And so it's playoff hockey type speed and atmosphere, but it's a baseball game. And so it's Globetrotters-esque in that the Bananas played, at least on the tour, the same team every time. So we travel with the Bananas and the Party Animals, who are the other team. We travel around to all these cities and they play the same team every time. However, it is a real game in that the Bananas don't win every game. We want them to, and the fans root for the Bananas, but it's a real competitive baseball game in addition to the amazing show that we put on.
So where were you traveling? All around Georgia?
So mostly for this tour, it was in the Southeast. So we were in, obviously, Savannah. We did a couple cities in Georgia. We did a couple cities in Alabama. We did Kansas City. We did a few cities in Florida. I'm trying to think where else. That was mostly it, but mostly the southeastern part of the U.S.
Oh, nice. So would you be open to do this again? Have they talked to you about doing this again?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would love to do the tour at least one more year. It was so much fun, and like I said, it's such a groundbreaking thing that there's so many different opportunities to do things that have never been done before that are really creative, and it's a lot of fun. So I will be back with the Bananas next year for their tour, as long as everything goes to plan.
Oh wow, that's awesome! So that's breaking news. Somewhat.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I haven't told any other media people about that yet, so that is breaking news.
All right, so it's breaking news. You heard it first.
That's right.
Anyway, that's good to hear that you'll be back with the Bananas for at least another year. Again, the Savannah Bananas, you can find out, it's going to be on ESPN Plus. They're going to have a series. It's called Banana Land. Again, ESPN Plus Banana Land should be coming out fairly soon. Look for Jake and the rest of the Savannah Bananas. Should be something exciting if you do get ESPN Plus. So as we keep going into this, now you're all over the place. It's not that you just do baseball games. You do regular shows, corporate events in general. You're also on TikTok. Can you talk about your social media presence, where people can find you, and also, the tricks you do on TikTok and also other social media networks?
So I'm actually really glad you brought that up. I'm on pretty much every social media at The Magic of Jake Schwartz is where you can find me: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even LinkedIn and Twitter. And the good news, if you don't follow me right now, is that it's a good time to follow me. It's a good time to start following me because I just built the studio that you're watching me record this podcast in right now, or you're listening to me record this podcast in right now. And there's going to be so much content that I have sort of waiting in the wings that I'm going to be pumping out. I'm going to be posting videos from the Bananas that have never been seen before. I'm going to be posting clips from podcast appearances like this, that some of which have aired, some of which have not. I'm going to be also just posting regular magic tricks. I'm going to be taking more videos of me doing magic tricks for that type of audience, for the camera. So you're going to get not only magic tricks from me, you're going to get life tips from me, you're going to get motivation from me, you're going to get comedy from me, and all of these different things that are coming out soon. I've got a brand new show that I'm going to be starting with one of my best friends is a comedian, and so it's sort of a really interesting mix, and I know we bring out the best in each other. That is coming. So like I said, if you don't follow me at The Magic of Jake Schwartz, now is a great time to do that because I've got so much hilarious and motivating and helpful and magical content coming your way soon.
I know you said you have some tricks for the audience members. If you could whip out some of those tricks, that would be great for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so when you're doing a podcast, Rob, there are certain things that you need and certain things that you don't need. You don't need pants. I could be freeballing it out here, Rob. You'd never know. You would never know. Another thing that you don't need is, I've got some of these right here, is mints. You don't need mints. And so look, I'm guessing you brushed your teeth today, Rob, but it's just that. It's a guess. I would never know because I can't smell you from Philly. All right. But I'm going to take one of these mints. And this is the thing that you don't need. The thing that you do need is headphones. So I've got the mint and the headphone. Check that out, Rob.
That was good. That was good.
Rob, you are going to get to be the magician for this trick right here. I am thinking of a card, Rob. What is the card that I'm thinking of?
Your ace.
Of?
Spades.
Yes, that's it. You're an amazing magician, Rob. See, it's not that hard. No, all right. That's stupid. You're missing the proof. Proof is very important, Rob. And that's what you're missing. And so I'm thinking of a new card. I will tell you it's not an ace. Okay. So I'll sort of help you out a little bit there, but I'm thinking of a new card. Rob, what is the new card that I'm thinking of? You can say it out loud.
Yeah. Jack
of
Hearts.
Okay. So that, yes, again, but you're, like I said, you're missing the proof, Robin. So that's why right here in my wallet, I keep one card. This is your first time ever trying a magic trick, Rob?
Yes.
That's insane. You said Jack of... Okay, I will tell you, Rob, you were very close. I told you yes before, but that's just because I like you and I wanted to make you happy. Right here in my wallet, I keep one card. It's not the Jack, but oh, you were so close. I'll let the camera get a look at that. It was the Queen. It was the Queen of Hearts. But that's still pretty good to be off by one on your first magic trick ever. That's pretty good. What's even more impressive, Rob, than you being off by one on your first magic trick ever is if I somehow knew you were going to be off by one. And for those of us who are just listening and not watching, the Queen says off by one on the back, predicting that Rob would guess the card, but be off by one.
Jake, before we go, what do you hope the people learn from this interview, we'll say?
Oh, goodness. I hope they learn. I hope they feel like they got to know me a little bit better. And that's really what I hope, because, I love doing magic and I love amazing people. I hope they were amazed by the tricks, but I hope that they feel like they got to know me a little bit better.
The Magic of Jake Schwartz on social media, jakeofspades.com. Jake, thanks so much for always coming on here. We'll definitely have you on again for sure. We're going to schedule this as this ends for the next interview with some more tricks and some more of just what the heck's going on in your life with your new show and everything else in the kitchen sink. So Jake, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.